All right, it's 6 o'clock and the April 3rd meeting of the Building and Standards Commission the work session is now in progress. The work session is in the workroom behind me, and it's open to the public if you wish to attend. You cannot comment or say anything. You can just listen. But if you want to, it's right back here. Thank you. All right. All right, everybody. We're gonna start this work session now with a roll call of all members present. Michelle Anderson.
Present.
Okay, Carl Rogers.
Present.
Greg Blahus.
Present.
Okay, Timothy Thompson.
Present.
Casey Smith.
Present.
Sean Hester. Okay, and I am Mark LeGros. Okay, the first order of business is to begin work session as identified on item 2 of the agenda. This is open to the public for observation only. Any interaction with commissioners and staff members is not legally permitted right now. So now I'll turn the work session over to Mr. Stephen Schubert, Chief Building Official. Stephen.
Thank you, Chairman LeGros. Tonight, we do have multiple staff members here, including myself. We have Kenny McKee. We have Jacqueline Nibbins. We have Bonin SIA. We have Desiree Villman. We have Chief Oates, who is going to be part of my presentation this evening as well. And we have Matthew Steer, who is the Administrative Services. Never remember your title.
Development Services Administrator.
There we go. And Louis Rayhill, who is the Assistant Director of my department. And we have Rachel, who is also one of our field inspectors for code enforcement. And Bob. But he's not.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah. A great show.
Okay. Okay, we're listening to Desiree present the case, please.
Yeah.
So tonight we're going to be going over the update following up on the property for 407 Greenway Court. We're going to review the progress since the original order was issued and offer staff recommendations. As we recall, this is a 2-story structure that did have a house fire back in May of 2022. The property owner did open several permits with the building inspections department, but unfortunately did not complete repairs. And then the repairs became stagnant. So that's when the Building and Standards Commission got involved. So on December 5th, 2024, the commission declared the structure substandard and ordered repairs to be completed by April 4th, 2025. We then had a show cause hearing held on February 6th, 2025 to assess the progress. At that time, we issued a supplement order, which required immediate action such as sealing up structural openings and securing the fence so that nobody could enter the property. And we also were looking at the pest control issues. This slideshow just summarizes kind of the progress that we've had on there. The green checks show that those are the items that have been completed. Yellow is going to be currently still in progress. So Mr. McCarty has obtained the necessary permits for both the roof and the alteration permit. He has started work, including installing the new roof, replacing the windows, and beginning the interior remodeling efforts. So these are just gonna be permits that are closed out and finalized on the property. So the interior demolition that was done shortly after the fire, and then the installation of the new roof. Currently, he has an alteration permit that was applied for on January 21st, 2025, and it was officially issued February 6th, 2025. And the project is moving through the inspection portion of it. He's had a couple of inspections that he's failed. He is gonna have to reschedule those, make some changes on the plumbing roof and mechanical roof. He did pass window framing and electrical roof. So the next series of slides are just gonna be pictures that illustrate the progress that he's completed. Here you can see windows were installed, you can see the new roof. And then he also painted the trim, soffits, and eaves. That's a closer look at the windows and the roof that was installed. Here you can see where on the left side where we had gapping from the boards being up, and there was issues with pests getting in and possibly individuals getting into the property. He went back and boarded up the windows while or boarded up the openings while the windows were being ordered. So it shows that the new windows were installed and the framing was repaired. Here you can see that the property had vegetation overgrowth that was removed. You can see the windows have been installed. Window framing is in good repair. And the grass is being maintained. Here you can see the roof decking was replaced during the repair of the roof. Here's a image of the balcony. He has started to repair that, and it looks like he's in the process of painting it. So for the pool's been drained multiple times over the course of this case. It's gonna be a continuing effort for him to drain it. Obviously, we had rain recently, so there's gonna be water in there. I've discussed this with him. He is gonna drain it. He does plan on putting some kind of tarp or something to try to prevent water from getting in there. Once he completes the interior of the property, the case will be closed for substandard structure. If this is still in violation at the time when we come back for that, this will go as separate code case. We'll work that as our normal code cases. It won't be part of the substandard structure. He did secure the fence so that there's no unauthorized individuals getting to the pool. He did seal up holes in the eaves and soffits, so to prevent rodents from entering the home. Here, this is where the rodents were getting into the home. There was droppings throughout the floor right there. He has placed a dryer vent cover on there to prevent any unwanted entry from the rodents. He did have pest control come out, install traps. He got the property treated for roaches and ants too. So this just shows he started the plumbing process. He's installing the plumbing fixtures and piping for the bathtubs and showers. Here's another image showing that he is moving forward with those repairs in the interior. And this is just an overall view of kind of the before and after what he's done. He's drained the pool, he's installed windows, he's done some repairs to the balcony, and has painted the property. So at this time, we're asking that the commission look at ordering a supplemental order that would allow him to complete the work and have a due date of July 3rd, 2025. We'll also have a follow-up show cause hearing. During that time in June, we'll provide you with a progress report of the repairs moving forward. We're hoping that he will continue moving forward with the repairs. He is constantly in contact with our office. He comes in at least once a week just to discuss, you know, where he's at on the project. We talk to his contractor almost daily too. So that's what we recommend at this time, is continuing to work with him to get this property into compliance. Any questions?
So the building was deemed substandard and the only thing left is just the interior what's the word, finish out, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, so basically he has to install sheet rock. Insulation, there's some mechanical ducts that he's working on. I'll go back to the,
He had a checkbox.
checkbox here.
Well, he's come a long way.
He has come a long way. He still has quite a bit of work to do, but I feel at this point, the outside has been sealed up. We're not having individuals getting into the home. We're not having the pest issues anymore. He's continuing to treat the property. He's told me that they come out monthly to treat the property for the rodents. So we'd like to continue through the permit process where he continues to get those inspections and moving forward. The only thing that I would be concerned about is he has done this in the past where he gets a permit, does a couple of inspections and stops with the inspections. That's the only thing that I would be concerned about. But like I said, he is now, since we've come and started this process, he is very active in the permit process. He calls us every time he gets an inspection. If there's something wrong, he calls us. Steve was kind enough to actually go out and walk the property and kind of show his contractor what was wrong with the plumbing that was done recently. So they are staying on top of it at this point. That's why I'm asking for a supplement order, because I want to continue to keep this on the docket until it gets completely repaired. I don't want it to go back to where he just stops getting those inspections out.
So basically, the house is dried in and we're just waiting on the tweaks on the plumbing before he's allowed to close in on the house.
Oh, we're waiting for the residential building seconds, which is the framing, mechanical, electrical and plumbing, everything that's gonna be concealed once the sheet rocked.
Right.
We're waiting for all of that to get completed and approved, and then they'll move forward with insulating the cavities, get that inspected by a third party, and then they'll sheet rock.
Oh, okay.
The most time consuming thing that will be next is actually getting all the cabinets and trim them. That'll be the next most time consuming portion of the construction.
Okay. Any other questions? Um. Anything to discuss on the other case or?
Yes, so I do have a second case tonight. We're gonna follow up on 433 Willow Springs. So this is a case regarding the fence that was in the rear that was substandard. Staff issued, or not staff, I'm sorry, commission issued an order for the fence to be abated by March 14th, 2025. Staff followed up on that order that was issued to the property owner, and unfortunately, the owner failed to remove that fence. Staff had to obtain an abatement warrant, go onto the property and remove the fence. The cost of abatement will be billed to the property owner, and that cost was about $1,600. Of course, if they don't pay that bill, there'll be additional fines, administration fees, and interest put on that bill that will turn into a lien on the property. So these are just some before and after pictures. It actually is in worse condition before we abated it due to the storms and stuff. Additional panels fell off. So staff also took the extra step to fill in any holes or anything like that with dirt resulting from the abatement of the fence.
Can you go back one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that the fence at the front of the property there is fine.
Yes, so I was trying to save that portion just because it is shared with the neighbor there. I don't want people going in between those properties. I was actually, when we went out there, I didn't know the extent of the damage to this portion that's shared with the neighbor. I was gonna try to save that portion of the fence so that they could have that privacy and not have people coming in and out of their property. But unfortunately, it was not in good repair. We had to take it down. So the portion that's facing the front there, we did save.
Okay.
So in this picture here, in the after picture, once we removed the fence and we had gotten on the property to kind of take a look at what was going on in the backyard, we found additional violations, so collection of rubbish, prohibited outside storage. This will have to be worked as a separate code case through our legal process, sending notices and going to court before we abate that. Because our abatement warrant was only for the fence. So we're asking for an order of discharge since the city has already gone in and abated the fence. This is just documenting that the city has completed the case and it'll be taken off the docket at this point. Do you have any questions?
Oh, man, 'cause I was waiting on pizza with you. You said you up.
All right, if no more questions, we'll close the work session.
Oh,
We still got building codes.
Okay.
I just got a plug, yeah.
Forgot about that one, sorry.
All right, so I would like to open up by apologizing if I seem to glaze over this at the last meeting. I've gone through 7 code adoptions in 3 different municipalities, but this was my first time doing it with y'all. So without really knowing how much information you guys really wanted, I erred on the side of going very lean on information rather than overwhelming you with information, making it seem like I'm trying to squeeze something through y'all. So I do apologize and I will do an endeavor to do better in the future. I do need feedback from you all on how much information you do want, since we're gonna start adopting these every 3 years. So every 3 years, we're gonna be going through the adoption process. The 2026 National Electrical Code is coming up next, which should be easy because it's all by itself. But when we come through and we do the 2027 International Code Council, a collection of codes, it's gonna be this exact same volume. So you guys will dictate to me what you guys feel is appropriate for the amount of information, and we'll work through it. In future, I think it'd be easier if I gave you guys a heads up that we are working towards it. Gave you guys the documents that I provided after the last meeting, made it available to y'all prior to our hearing, and gave you guys about 1.5 to 2 months to be able to go through it all at your ease. Thanks. So this presentation has not really been modified much except for the additional 130 slides. Yes, so I have added everything, the documentation I provided you all to review, that has all been added to this. We'll go through this at y'all's leisure. This is not, we're gonna sit here and go through 179 slides. This is gonna be at y'all's pace. We have gone over a lot of the significant changes from the 2015 international codes to the 2024 international codes. Unfortunately, because it comes out every 3 years, there has been multiple cycles that have come out since. We are currently on the 2015 codes. Since then, the 2018 codes have come out, the 2021 codes have come out, and now the 2024s. Chief Oates has a couple words about the fire codes.
We'll do it now?
Yeah.
The what?
Yeah.
Okay. So point of reference, the 2015 International Fire Code, we had 36 code amendments. With the adoption of the 2024 that we're moving to, we're proposing 29 amendments. So obviously you had all that in your documents. But over the 9 years since the last code cycle, several of the previous amendments are now in the base code, so there was no reason to have additional amendments. But of the 29 amendments, only one is new. And it's this one here on the EV charging. This is a COG recommendation, and the code is silent on it. There's nothing in the code as of the 2024s. But our amendment has been provided to the 27 code and it'll be in the base code in 27. So this amendment that I'm asking for the fire code will actually be in the 2027. Maybe not exactly the way I have it, the way the COG recommendation is, but COG has already sent it to the International Code Council to be put in the 27. But everybody else will do that as well. So it may change a little bit, but it really just covers the location of the fire department emergency power shutoff for the charging stations. It has to be so many feet away from the actual charger and where charging stations can be located in parking garages. That's it.
So,
Go ahead.
no, I was gonna actually ask, I know there was mentioned, it's, as far as code changes, I think a 4 foot. Lift, I'm like, I think that was more residential though, I think that was in a different, maybe a different part of the code, where it was 4 feet off the ground for EV charging stations due to the height of a truck.
That's for electrical vehicle chargers.
Yeah, and that's residential, okay, so that's not in here, but more in the other.
Right, that's elevation from impact protection for like a Tesla charger would be different because that's gonna be text off.
Outdoors, okay.
Tim, is there a separation for both your cutoff box and the actual station from the fuel pumps?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
that's,
just curious.
I mean, that's what,
That's why.
yeah, there's nothing in the code. That's why we're having an amendment to give that number.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, the National Electrical Code would have a disconnect for all that equipment. It's just not readily accessible to emergency personnel. Emergency personnel would have to identify the power source
I was more
on site
concerned about a fuel.
rather than just
spill.
go up and hit that disconnect.
I was more concerned
Yeah, well,
about fuel spill than just the electrical.
Well,
connection. That's probably. not a good-
Well, if you got a fuel spill on an electric vehicle, you got worse problems.
No, you're not understanding.
But
If
the,
the fuel pump malfunctions and gas runs from that station down to the electric. But
yeah, there are requirements for that in our code, but the biggest part was just the actual electrical cutoff. And so even for residential, it can be a breaker. Inside the house, it doesn't have to be what we're calling for commercial. It just has to be labeled. So the residential inspector, when they go out and do the electrical in the garage, just ensure that the breaker is labeled. But if you look like at Walgreens and at Market Street, you know, there's no emergency cutoff for us at all. We have to get into the store, we have to go find the electrical panel, so that's why need some kind of power to tell them where to put them, because now if it's. Somebody's charging their Tesla at 2 o'clock in the morning at Market Street. We have to gain access, if something happens, we have to gain access to the store, find it, cut the power, so.
What's the access to the box? Is it just open emergency shut off or
No,
is
it's
it
a
knock
key that
box?
only, yeah, no, it's only the fire department has access to it. That's it for me. Thank you.
So we've gone over some of the changes that I brought up last time. One of the changes is for a structure with an occupiable roof that's 4 stories above grade. They have to put an elevator up to the roof. I added this slide. It is just a little bit more descriptive of the expectations for elevators on a commercial property. It's got an occupiable roof. It's the exact same as the 4th story. They've got to have an elevator. Brought up the plumbing and expansive soils last time. Chief Oates actually provided me a photo. They're actually doing this exact same system over at Fire Station 4 currently. Provide. I've added this slide just for additional examples. We don't have a whole lot of escape rooms or puzzle rooms here in the city of Coppell. It is possible that we'll get some. However, as far as a building official is concerned, this has been a huge nightmare ever since they started making these things. Trying to figure out a way in order to have appropriate egress that's hidden. That's really, really hard. But the International Building Code has finally come up with what they consider to be a mutually amicable outcome for allowing for these types of rooms and occupancies while still meeting bare bones minimum safety, so nobody gets trapped in the case of emergency. This is a new slide as well. This is just an example of what potentially is going to cost our businesses here for adopting 2024 International Building Code. No matter what, anytime that a building, an existing building transfers hands, it has, today it's, T-Mobile, tomorrow it's AT&T Mobile. Well, when it changed occupants, we go through and we do a certificate of occupancy inspection. One of the things that we look at is door hardware. We have to make sure that the door hardware progresses with the building codes with each occupant. One of the nice things is, so long as it doesn't change hands, it stays as is. It's pre-existing non-compliant. It doesn't matter, but once it changes occupants, now we have to make sure that it meets current requirements. So if somebody had a thumb turn lock and now it has to be keyed from both sides, well, that's gonna be an unseen expense to anybody who's taking occupancy. It's not a whole lot different underneath the 24s than it is underneath the 2015s, but there are some minor differences. So far as the verbiage for the signage, the actual definitions of what it takes to be able to operate the door handles, stuff like that. This slide is new as well. One of the other changes underneath the 2024 International Building Code is changing on the ratings of exterior walls and how they're configured in commercial buildings. It allows for a little bit more flexibility for designers and allows them flexibility for decreasing the distances between two commercial structures on the same property. And that's the key, is it's got to be on the same property. All the changes that we are proposing to y'all are listed here. 15-1 is going to change from the International Building Code to our new construction chapter. 15-2 changes from the National Electrical Code to the International Building Code. 15-3 changes from the International Mechanical Code to the International Residential Code, and so forth. One of the things that I have done is in creating our construction chapter, I have taken stuff from the National Electrical Code that we adopted, verbiage in there for contractor registrations and expectations are now in the construction chapter. Changes for contractor registration, which was 15-16, that is now in the construction chapter. So I did not reinvent the wheel with construction chapter. I just took from different sections and consolidated it into one solid document. So all our contractors, all our staff have one place to go of, these are your hours of operation. This is the requirements for registering with the city. This is the requirement for keeping your construction site clean, all that stuff. Just for reference, with the adoption of COG recommendations, I went through our comparison cities, everybody that had adopted the 2021 International Code cycle. We're not on here because we're still on 15s. But as you can see, this is the first 7 chapters of the International Building Code, the 2021 edition. Anything with a red block was not adopted by that municipality. No, the only one who went straight to COG recommendations is Plano, who is actually the head of the board that recommended all these changes. And even they did not stick to the exact same verbiage that they proposed through COG. Section 105.2 and 110.3.5, which is appertains to the authority of the building official and how the offices operate. There's differs from what they recommended for COG. So most cities really don't go straight COG. There's only 1 or 2 that do. And some of our adoptions for the International Code cycle do still reflect COG recommendations, just not all.
So all the Ys are COG.
Yes, anything that is white with a Y is they adopted the COG recommendation. Irving, as you can see, has a lot of differences. They did amend those exact same sections, but the way they amended it is not COG's recommendations. They did their own thing. Plano, 2 differences. Frisco has the 1 difference on 506.2. So
How many of these would be differs for Coppell? Yeah, based on staff recommendation.
So we would be straight red blocks, right, except for sections for like 101.4.8, 105.2. So we'd still have a couple of them, but for the most part.
Right, well, I'm sorry, based on staff recommendations for what you're looking to do to adopt here, how many of ours would be differs if we were just to say staff recommendations go?
So we'd have a couple of yeses, and the rest would all be red.
Okay.
My intention is to try and stick as close to the codes as possible, not COG recommendations. The international codes were generated by people who are actual engineers, been doing this, and it goes through hundreds of people, not just a couple of folks. So. All right. So.
Appreciate the way you laid it out in the emails. I think that was.
Yeah,
If there's specific sections or
Very-
questions that we have about, as far as making changes or not necessarily about what they say, but the process by which to change, would we discuss that back here or can? we
Yes,
discuss that back
preferably
here?
we'd handle all of that back here.
Okay.
And then, just go over it basically out in front.
Okay.
You guys can make recommendations. If you guys want us to do something different, we can take this back to scratch and start over.
Man, that would be. Let's see who'll really do it.
Well, again, this is establishing how we're gonna be moving forward, for all the code adoptions. I don't want to overwhelm you guys with information. I also don't want to underwhelm you guys with information. I don't want you guys to feel like, oh my gosh, I just got handed War and Peace and I've got 15 minutes to read it.
30.
Yeah, so there's specific spots that I was just making notes on, life gets in the way, I didn't have time to. Admittedly get through the last half of them, but the first half of them was digging through, didn't know if I could bring up specific items,
Absolutely.
what's the easiest way to tell you?
Absolutely.
If I knew it was in 15.2 on page 3, that kind of deal, or you gonna give you a specific
If you
section number?
give me which building code it is, whether it's the IBC, IRC,
Did not write that part down, I can tell you it's in the 15.2 documentation, the one that's labeled with that, whatever 15.2 was.
15.2 would be the IBC. So
There you go.
15-1 is going to be the construction chapter.
Okay.
And this is 15-2, which is going to be the International Building Code.
Okay, and it was regarding just 107.1, and this is a recurring, that one that's recurring a few times in the various sections. So I noticed that in the recommendation, I know it's, hey, we're looking to just continue forward with an amendment or things like that, but it mentions that. In the recommendation that construction documents shall be prepared by a registered design professional where required by the statutes of the jurisdiction. And we took that part of it out, and it just says that all of them have to be done by a registered, unless staff has the ability to override and say where it's not.
So that actually is covered in the International Building Code. It's not listed here because it's not being amended.
Okay,
I, as a building official, have the authority to waive requirements.
right,
So
I got that part.
Yeah, generally
Yeah.
speaking, state law steps in. The state law requires anything over 5,000 square feet has to be designed by an engineer, regardless, for commercial, not for residential. So I don't have any sway on that. If it's
Right.
under 5,000 square foot and they're doing all new electrical systems, it just has to be somebody competent, somebody who knows how to draw it out, that I can figure out what they're doing.
Gotcha. I guess the approach for mentally was backwards, where if the recommendation on the left is, hey, it's only required in these scenarios, we've reversed it to say it's required in all scenarios unless we say otherwise to waive it. Is there a reason we couldn't?
So our current ordinance is that it all has to be designed by an engineer.
Right.
And I do not require it all to be written or designed by an engineer, because some guy who's doing 1,100 square foot space and is barely making it by, that's a huge expense to them. Charging them $3,000 to $5,000 for an engineer to come through and design something that by state law, a licensed electrician can do. So.
Right, so I guess we're saying the same thing. What I'm saying is, you're allowed to waive it, and I'm saying the original recommendation on the left, which we don't have in place right now, to your point. Says that, well, it's only required in fewer scenarios.
Right, but another section that's not listed here already says that I can waive it. So that's why I didn't really see the.
Yeah, this section says you can waive it too, based on how we already have it. Yeah. Okay, maybe we're talking past each other. All right. Still in 15.2, just at 109.61.
Refunds, bottom of the page.
Yeah, absolutely, right there. So it says that the building official may authorize refunding if we've erroneously paid or collected. So if we've erroneously collected fees, why wouldn't we refund 100% of it if we collected it in error?
Because no matter what, we still have to recover our fees as a government. It still costs us money in order to.
Even if it was collected in error. So if we mistakenly collected something, we're only, and it still says we can, not shall. I definitely would like to change may to shall there. If it was collected erroneously, that we're definitely giving it back.
Okay.
What's the scenario? See where that would happen.
I never did that, so I just want to write this down real quick.
I'll tell you one is, so the guy submitted plans to me about a month ago for a business on South Beltline. And for special locking system, and his fee was $120. I did the plan review. I notified him saying, hey, this building does not appear to be in my jurisdiction, but I did the plan review. How would you like to proceed? He goes, give me my permit. I said, I don't think this building's in my city. And I gave him the address. He goes, yeah, that's the business I'm doing. I said, okay, well, that business is in my city. And so he paid. And then a month later, he came back and says, oh, no, I made a mistake. The address is actually in Cypress Waters and it's the city of Dallas. I said, yes, sir, I understand that. I tried to tell you that. And he goes, but I already spent the time doing the permit and the plan, so we did not refund him his money. And he actually sent us the email stating, I don't expect to get money back. But
Gotcha. And I think maybe that's the mental split for me, is the difference in erroneously paid versus erroneously collected. If we demanded, payment for something that's maybe from the city's point of view, then I would think, well, we erroneously collected, that might need to return back.
Yeah, you're saying what I was thinking too. Say, hey, you need this permit, this permit, this permit, and you pay and
Right.
get the permits, and then you look at it and say,
There could be
well,
a square-
actually, you don't even
There could
need
be a
that.
square footage,
Yeah.
and so the charge gets done for square foot, and it turns out it's more or less than that. So it's either gonna be an overpayment or underpayment.
Well, our permit fees are generated by the input of the applicant. The applicant is the
Yeah.
one that tells our computer system what their scope of work is, and we just
It's
verify.
one of their own
whether that's correct.
mistakes, not our mistake.
Okay,
Exactly.
so this isn't around one that will be come in and that's a little
Right.
different.
Yeah,
Okay.
so all of these are generated through applications. And
Yeah, I would prefer to leave it May. Shells are big trouble.
yeah.
Shall means you will. Nobody leaves it up to.
Absolutely.
So
And
you
the
don't
the
want to
shall
change.
was based on erroneously collecting, where what we're talking about is if we told somebody they owed something and we were in error. I would think, no, that's absolutely going back to them. But if it's the difference of they're the applicant who instigates it, then that absolutely could be.
It's
So,
not-
Yeah,
so what were you saying? Do you want to change it to shall or keep it as may?
No, not understanding that the instigation now comes from the applicant, that's all I really needed.
Yeah.
This isn't like, listen, mother, like. This is more just me, like, getting to learn.
Yeah, once somebody makes an application and they pay any review fees, the only ones that charge review fees are commercial projects. There's no residential plan review fee, they just pay the permit fee after everything's ready to get picked up. We have had people try to cancel out a permit after they've already paid, it's already been approved, we've already done a plan reviews. Well, we've already generated overhead on that permit.
Sure, it's hours and commitment, yeah, at that point, okay, no, that's helpful to know, so they're sticking in 15 too. What, 903.2. We're already there, look at that. So in the first note there. For ours, it says all new buildings and new additions, existing buildings greater than 5,000 square feet, so. I'm aware that state law prevents any requirement prior to present, being required for the residential side.
Yeah.
Unless it existed prior to state law going in and all the explanation that was there, so that's helpful as well, but in point 3, it goes ahead and clarifies. That the group art buildings are, except for single family dwellings, are exempt. Can we not add that in the first one too? If it didn't need to be clarified in the third one, we could just clarify it in the first one.
Yeah, we can do that.
For excluding single family dwelling as well, just to match the same logic for the third point down.
Well, so really, it doesn't need to be in there at all. Group R does not include single family dwellings. Not for single family use. Group R is commercial properties. So the International Building Code. That it says right at the beginning that it does not cover 1 or 2 family dwellings, 3 stories or less from grade. That is all covered underneath the International Residential Code. The International Residential Code does not have any occupancy types because there's only one use for the building. You can't have multiple uses for a single family dwelling. So.
I thought I had that as R2 or R3, maybe I got mixed up on what I was saying there.
Works required.
Live work is not a single family dwelling. That is a commercial property that's falls underneath the International Building Code, not the International Residential Code.
It was. Huh?
All right.
Well, then in that case,
Never mind.
we're just changing it here, God, changing the definitions. 15.3, I only have, by the way, it sounds like I'm gonna keep going, I only had 6 of these things, but we're almost done.
But yeah,
Looking at 105.2.
Work exempt from permit.
Yeah, I noticed there's a lot more listed on the recommended than it was, where's the exemptions, and ours seems a little bit shorter.
Okay, so this is actually a COG amendment and the verbiage has remained the same. We have never changed it. This is the way it currently is underneath the 2015s. The 2024 National Residential Code, it does not include things like fences. Well, we do.
Right.
So,
That's one of the
and
things that was nice.
then once you start getting into stuff like the electrical, the gas, the mechanical, those are not in alignment with state law.
So 1-story detached accessory buildings, is that a shed?
Mhm.
That's just a fancy way of saying shed. It's
Yeah.
super fancy, but
Shared farm, work,
yeah, so as far as putting a shed, that those aren't exempt, you gotta have permits for building a shed in your backyard, personal storage.
So some cities do have exemptions for size. You know, if you are under 80 square feet, no permits required. We are not one of them. We have requirements for if it is less than 150 square foot. And we have set of requirements for if it's 150 square foot or larger.
As a body, if we wanted to recommend that people could put a, something shorter than 49 feet, that it's, 7x7 small shed in their backyard.
I can take that to staff that would actually go through
Yeah,
zoning.
that goes with zoning.
Okay, there you go.
Accessories.
I didn't know if that was for us to put, since it's here in these codes.
Now, unfortunately, it's one of those things that more falls under, even though I do have requirements for them,
Mhm.
but the complete requirements actually come from zoning. So that would be go through planning and zoning.
If we zone it and you have to have either a special use permit, we're gonna require that they get a permit. That's been our tradition.
So would it be the same for fences, since we're
Yeah.
talking about the same
Yes.
section?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can ignore this section entirely because we don't have any say on it.
I have requirements for how it's constructed. They have requirements on where it can be, what it can look like, stuff like that.
We've traditionally required permits for that, so that we didn't have creeping violations.
And just about every municipality in the Dallas Fort
And
Worth
it's lot-
area
and it's
is
lot
underneath the exact same
coverage.
exemptions.
It's a lot coverage, there's a lot goes into accessory structure, I know it seems like overreaching. But I represent some communities where they don't have this,
Well,
in the
especially,
backyard looks like Sheen Town.
especially where they're like neighborhoods where there's a fence in the backyard, but it's not against any public roadways or alleyways, it's just a
Right.
green belt. No one else can see it in the back, it's kind of a. How stringent are the requirements? Can we have exemptions for people who are building a fence under 7 feet,
The statutes of man are violated on a consistent basis every.
And I will say we do get complaints about those, when people build them without permits,
What, and what.
even if it's on
and
green belt area.
To a lot of the green belt, and then we put a trail behind it,
Mhm.
now we start getting complaints because nobody knew it was back there.
So I back up to a green belt, but there's the alley. And nobody likes to see any crap.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, ours,
So-
I live on one where it backs to a green belt, but then it goes to Cottonwood Creek, and so it's all private and
Okay.
backyards, and no one, if anyone's back there complaining, like, why are you in my backyard? I've got to mow that, that's my.
Well, since the international codes first came out in 2000, fences were exempt. There was no city that exempted fences. Every municipality in Dallas Fort Worth area required as fence permits. One of the changes that came up with the 2024s is they finally stopped saying that. And started saying, okay, if you don't have a swimming pool or a spa in the backyard, it is exempt, but still we're amending.
And then next to last one, still in 15.3. Looking at 104.8.
Portable fuel.
So this one was, this is also an education deal for me, if I'm in the right one. Still
104.8.
15.3? No, I'm looking at the sound attenuation one, maybe it wasn't
Ah.
15.3. It was ventilation and sound transmission and attenuated standard.
We have some of our own standards because of the airport.
That's
No,
in here,
I figure that's what it is, because it's the one that bases up 2,000 feet off Freeport.
Right.
right here.
Okay, and so this might, it's again, maybe an education thing for me, just making sure, because I'm impacted probably by that. But the things like I think it's. The numbers 4 and 5 in that list under 104.8. There we go, ventilation, so keep going, there we go, 4 and 5 are the last two, fireplaces shall be provided. with well-fitted dampers and tightly fitting glass doors or metal. So any construction with fireplaces and within that sound attenuated zone have to have tightly fitting glass doors on a fireplace, or you can't.
Well, so if you have it, it's gotta be tight fitted, otherwise the acoustics.
If you
doesn't
have it.
vibrate.
But we don't require tight fitting glass doors on all fireplaces in that zone.
And technically, yeah,
That's what I'm saying. That's where I'm reading that going, but yet there's other people outside of this sound attenuated zone in Coppell who are walking around like they're better than me because they can have a fireplace without their glass doors that are tight fitting. Is there a reason that we would have to require this if somebody aesthetically did not desire?
It's just sound.
I would have to dig into
It's-
that one.
It's sound attenuation,
Do I get that?
and for years, we wouldn't allow any building of any residential homes along that corridor, because of the landing. And glide paths into Coppell, because we used to get complaints. I go back a long time. We used to have a complaint report we got every Friday that Gary Seeb used to produce and send to the council. Because we got complaints, and so up until about 2010, 2011, we really watched about having any building west of basically Dent Tap. I mean, it got better, so Coppell Road became the attenuation zone. And those are the standards that we put together and adopted, so they allowed those residential homes along that corridor with those standards. So that was the council's policy. So
So if I wanted to suggest or request the removal of this one,
you'd have to get the council
Okay.
to say that they wanted to relax
So
the noise
leave that one in.
attenuation standard.
Leave that one.
Needs to stay in.
that used to stay, okay.
Yeah, Matt's been here, and Mark's been here. He said.
No, that's fine. Heck, as long as we're talking about the one right below it. Air conditioning units not allowed. Those are through wall ones. I'm assuming like a window mounted unit.
Right.
I don't see how that would allow airplane noise to get in.
It breaks the seal of the glass, because they're special windows. So once that, I think that's sealed up, and we,
Yeah, these are just guidelines for if you don't wanna get it. Sealed by an engineer, right?
right,
So. These, if there's other options to get it approved.
if you had some other baffling system in your chimney that would handle it and you didn't need, and the sound engineer would sign off on it, we'd probably authorize it.
Yeah, just some of it is just stuff like that that stands out as somebody who's reading through it going like,
Oh, I
wait a minute,
understand.
why?
What the hell's going on over there?
Yeah, I live over there. I'm pretty sure I could handle my own sparks in the fireplace. I don't need tight glass doors.
No, but again, something that predates me. And that's why they know more about it than I do.
Okay. And the last one's more preference. I'm sure I can hear from the group that we're good with it, but maybe back in 15.2. Sorry, it was the last one I had. I looked back around on. 109.4. I think this one's a standing one. It's more of a not looking to change it. So that was in 15.2 in 109.4. So the fee not to exceed 2,000, I think this is sticking with the. You know, it's a fee established by the building official, and then we're looking to leave it where it already is. Is there a reason that we came to 2,000 as the number, or was that just like, that
That's state
seems
law.
like it'll fit?
State law.
State law's 2,000.
Yeah.
Maximum fines, $2,000 per violation.
So a good example is somebody who is not a licensed plumber goes out and swaps the water heater out for somebody who charges them money for it. You know, handyman Bob. Handyman Bob went out, there you go, and swapped out somebody's water heater. Well,
And I
that's
will.
a violation of city ordinance because they performed it without a permit or inspections. And it's also a violation of the Texas state law for trades.
Yeah.
So Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners can charge them up to $5,000 per occurrence because that's what state law says they're maxed out at. We say we're maxed out at 2,000, but really I don't get to dictate anything. We just file a notice with the court, and it's actually a judge who dictates what the fine's gonna be.
But she can't exceed, he or she can't exceed $2,000, because there's a limit
Yeah,
under
if
the
she-
local government code on what we can charge for a
if
violation.
she has seen handyman Bob here in her court for the last 10 weeks on a
She
different
might
water
find
meter
it.
each time, then yeah, chances are she's gonna
And
be hitting that max.
she'd give me a ticket for every day I did it, and the judge would max me out, so my fine would probably be about 20 grand.
Yes,
Would
usually,
this-
I'm sorry, usually code compliance gives a notice of violation first before issuing any kind of citation or complaint to court.
Most we have habitual offender.
Yes.
Would this be more evergreen if we just said not to exceed statutory limits?
Yeah.
Rather than could even call out 2,000?
We're capped at 500 for our ordinances. 2,000 if it's a health, safety and welfare issue, which all the building codes are, so it's a 2,000.
And is this normally levied against like a contractor who did that, or is it, do we see it more as an individual?
So we
So it
always
is a
give,
property owner.
yeah, we try to work with them
That's
now.
primary.
Now, Steve has been able to locate, so sometimes contractors will come out, do work, leave, and we can never find out who did the work, or anything like that. So we will address it with the property owner. We try to work with them, have them come in, get permits. I mean, we work with them. You
Good.
guys have seen how we worked with Willow Springs. We will work with them for years to try to get them where they need to be. If they fail or they just not responsive, then we will issue the citations.
No.
Yeah.
Citation is a last resort. It's,
Yeah.
it's not a goal for us. It's a tool that we use to get compliance, but it's not our goal to go out there and get citations.
Right, and that was maybe my concern was just like, if this is normally against, if this happens where we get homeowners, property owners who are running into it via accident, are we gonna hammer them with 2,000?
No, absolutely not.
That's why I was gonna say, hey, let's lower that cap a little, but
I don't dictate that though.
That's
That'd be all up to the judge. No matter what value we had in here, the judge would.
Generally, just so you know, for code, especially a lot of times building code. If I'm handling the docket, we'll get in there and find out, or if they're innocent, and if they're innocent, we'll reduce fine,
Mhm.
they'll pay $50 in court costs.
Yeah,
Didn't do anything about the court costs, but
we pre-trials.
The
where we
point
sit
of having
down.
is to identify what the
if they
maximum
get it
amount is.
fixed, I'll give them 60 days to get it fixed, and she'll recommend, hey, I went and inspected it, it's good, I'll dismiss it.
Yes. It's the last, like, if you're getting fined, it's the last resort.
Yeah,
We usually have pre-trial after pre-trial with them, even once they go to court.
I give you an opportunity, my famous speech is, I would rather you spend the money
Fix it.
fixing it than I do city of Coppell, that we need an extra $500 for your code violation, so get it fixed. We'll dismiss the case, get it fixed, passes inspection.
A lot of times with $2,000 could fix their violations. So we give them ample opportunities to go ahead and do that.
Because a lot of times the homeowner's innocent. They have someone come in and fix it, they're told they're gonna get a permit, they don't pull a permit, they do the work and then it's substandard and.
Yeah, and
They're
they
upside
can't
down,
find that
they pay,
contractor ever again.
they paid him, and usually no permit, not registered and ripped off the homeowners, so.
But by having the dollar amount in here, it gives us a little more conferring with somebody because it's written in documentation of what it is. So we don't have to defer them over to state law. We can say, you know, it's right here, this is maximum by state.
If they're honest contractors, they already know.
yes,
Because they do work in every city and every city.
Every city has the same exact verbiage.
Yeah.
well,
Which is a common recommendation.
no, and I appreciate the education on that kind of stuff. So this is where it kind of goes back to the first meeting, and you were saying, hey, help me gauge what's needed. Maybe for people who are more reasonable than me, much less. And then I tend to, thankfully for everybody here, I didn't honestly have the time to go through as much. I'd probably have just as many questions where you'd be like, dummy, it's this. And I would be like, this is awesome. I'm getting to learn.
You are more than welcome to continue through and ask me
That's all I
whatever
got.
questions you have.
That's all I got.
Well, even after this is all resolved and done, if you have any questions, that's what I'm here.
Yeah, we can still change it at the council level if we need to.
I
change
think
something.
that where you were asking though, just about the balance of the information, I think what I would call, just having seen more changing the code at the, state level is that strike through documentation, because I didn't know, it was like, hey, I meant to say this. Once we had the documentation to show, hey, here's what it has been, that was everything that I needed to be able to say, hey, we're changing it to, what's it changing from? I'm like,
See, what you're actually doing is talking yourself to being a long-term member of the board.
no. Well, you
Because
guys,
I noticed you asked questions and Mark asked none, because he's heard this lecture before. but it's important, and it's good.
It's like jury duty.
It keeps us. How can I say, I've been doing this a really long time and I forget what people don't know, they've been doing it so long, so.
Yeah,
That's why we're here.
yeah, starts becoming
And
second
it-
nature.
and
Well,
it's,
yeah.
and it's good for people to have a new perspective.
So do
If we're
you,
doing something wrong, we.
do you guys feel that the three frames, the way I've got it done here, works well, is easy to reference?
Yes.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Okay, do you think it would help if I also included which section it is and which code it is at the bottom of each frame?
As long as you can find it, this is fine. But I'll just reference what is here and be like, hey, well, it's this and this, and then.
Then moving forward, this is the format, I'll try to keep it in. I'll try to get it to you guys about a month and a half, 2 months before the date. And that way you guys will have time to be able to go through it at your leisure. And like I said on the email, if you guys do have questions about documents like this that I send you, you guys are more than welcome to email. The only thing you can't do is start conferring with each other in a group email on the subject. We have to keep that for the meetings. All right.
Okay,
Any other questions?
kickoff time.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna close the work session and in about 10 minutes, we'll open up the regular session out in the chambers. Has our technicians gotten everything all set up for recording? Okay. It's 7:04 and the regular session of the Building and Standards Commission is now reconvened. 7:04. Okay, item number 4, citizens' appearance. Has anybody signed up to speak on any item that's not on the agenda? If not, Steve, did you receive any written comments for citizens' appearance? Okay. If item number 5, then approval of the February 6, 2025 Building and Standards Commission minutes. Has anybody had a chance to look over the minutes? Okay, I'll take a motion for approval of the minutes.
I make a motion to approve as submitted.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes, raise your hand. Okay, the minutes have passed. Thank you. Item number 6. Item number 6 on the agenda is a show cause hearing to determine if the structure located on the property addressed at 407 Greenway Court in the city of Coppell, Dallas County, Texas, complies with the order action given by the Building and Standards Commission within the allotted time provided and within the standards outlined in the City of Coppell Ordinance, Article 15-14, adopted the 2015 National Property Maintenance Code and amending portions therein. Desiree, we'll hear from you.
Mr. Chairman, did anyone sign up to speak on that item? Is
Yes, we have.
anyone that-
We have 2 people signed up to speak on this item, Mr. Bolton and can't Rue. The occupant at 411 Greenway Court.
Okay, and if they're gonna testify, including staff, they need to stand up and you need to administer the oath.
All right, if anybody, all is going to speak before the board, stand up, raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before the Building and Standards Commission is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Sit down.
And then when they do come up to speak, put on the record that they've taken the oath.
Okay. Desiree?
Good evening. I want to thank y'all for being here today. Really appreciate it. This presentation will be a follow-up of the property located at 407 Greenway Court. We will review the progress made since the original order was issued and offer staff recommendations for the next steps. As required, notifications were sent to all recorded property owners and lien holders by first-class mail and certified mail. Notices were also posted on site and published in the local newspaper. 407 Greenway Court is the subject of today's hearing. It's a spacious 2-story residence over 3,000 square feet, originally constructed in 1993. The property was purchased by the current owner, Keenan McCarthy, in 2004. The house sustained a fire in May of 2022. On December 5th, 2024, the commission declared the structure substandard and ordered repairs to be completed by April 4th, 2025. A show cause hearing was held on February 6, 2025 to assess the progress. Following that, a supplemental order was issued requiring immediate action such as sealing structural openings and securing the pool area to prevent hazards. This slide summarizes both the original and the supplemental order. Mr. McCarty has obtained the necessary permits for the roof and the alteration work. He has initiated the repairs, including the installation of a new roof, the replacement of windows, and beginning the interior remodeling efforts. I'll now show you some pictures that highlight the progress of the repairs. So the first overview that we're going to look at is just the general permits that have been issued and finalized for this property, including the interior demolition that followed the initial fire and the installation of the new roof. This overview here represents the alteration permit. He has had several inspections, some of which he passed and some of which he failed. These photos showcase the completed roof replacement, the installation of the new windows, and the freshly painted trim, soffits, and eaves. These images here provide a closer view of the completed roof and window repairs. The window openings were sealed to prevent pests and unauthorized entry while awaiting installation of the new windows. After that, the windows did arrive and he was able to install the new windows and do repairs to the window framing. These pictures here highlight the installation of the new windows and the removal of the overgrowth from the vines that were on the structure. These photos showcase the replacement of damaged and rotted roof decking as part of the overall roof repair process. Here, these pictures represent the repairs to the balcony. Here you can see what the pool originally looked like and how it's progressed, where he has cleaned it multiple times. Obviously, we've had some rains recently. There is currently some stagnant water in the pool. He has been made aware of that he does need to drain the pool. This is going to be a continuing, ongoing issue that he's going to have to maintain until he finishes the structure and is able to do the proper repairs and be able to maintain that pool. The owner has also installed a lock on the gate that has access to the pool, so nobody can enter the property and get injured in the pool. Additionally, these images showcase the sealing of openings on the soffit as part of the efforts to prevent pests from entering the structure. Additional pest prevention was done by installing a dryer vent cover to block entry points. He did have the property treated for rodents, roaches, and ants. The following images illustrate the interior remodeling that is underway. The contractors are currently installing the required plumbing and bathroom fixtures. These images here further demonstrate that progress on the plumbing repairs throughout the structure. Lastly, these images showcase the owner's efforts to improve and restore the structure and premises to being into compliance. Based on the property owner's good faith effort and measurable progress towards completing the required repairs, staff recommends the following actions to support continued compliance. We ask the commission to issue a supplement order requiring all remaining repairs associated with the alteration permit to be completed no later than July 3rd, 2025, and to schedule a show cause hearing to follow up on those repairs. Additionally, staff will prepare and submit a progress report to the commission during the first week of June, documenting the current statuses and verifying continued forward movement on the project. This will conclude my presentation. I respectfully request that my testimony in this presentation be accepted and entered into record as evidence in this case.
I would like to admit the presentation as evidence into record, please. Any questions?
Maybe a quick question. Oh, the recommendation is that we set up another hearing so that these remaining items can be completed no later than July 3rd.
Yes, that's what we're requesting. I believe that the chief building official had spoke to Keenan and they were discussing that July 3rd would probably be when the project will be completed.
Okay.
Based on the current progress that we're seeing.
And maybe just to offer voice from where we've heard from testimony from concerned citizens on this previously, putting maybe teeth to recommendations and things like that. When we say no later than July 3rd, should we approach that date and it's not something that's in progress or shown good progress, but is not complete, no later than, is there a difference in the recommendation as we approach that time? What is I know the desires for the property to get into good repair regardless, but
Yes.
maybe the recommendation here is just to have that similar to what we've done on this one.
I would like to have it completed by July 3rd. Obviously, you guys can amend the order however you'd like. You can add fines, fees in there if you feel like that that's needed. You can change the date if you'd like. That's completely up to y'all. It's just a general recommendation that based off of the progress that we have seen.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is the applicant here to present his case? Yana? Yes. Do you have anything to say to the board?
No, other than, I appreciate the time and we try to move it forward as quickly as possible.
You step up to the mic, please, and you have to be sworn in. You haven't taken an oath yet, so raise it. So come up to the podium, please. Raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give before the Building and Standards Commission is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Thank you, sir. Please step up, state your name and address for the record.
Keenan McCarty, address 407 Greenway Court,
Mhm.
Coppell, Texas.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, due to rain and due to things that I can't control other than God, we've been trying to move as quickly as we can to get things done. I think the thing is we just need a little bit more time to go ahead and get things completed. We as far as the plumbing, I think the electrical passed, the plumbing and the mechanical, they're gonna come back out Monday. And then after that passes, we're just gonna continue to move forward.
Okay.
I would ask my neighbors not to call the police on my contractor and scare them, so we can get it completed.
Do you have a general contractor working, or are you contracting all of these people
No,
yourself?
I have a general contractor.
Is he here today?
What's that?
Is your general contractor here tonight?
No, he's not here tonight.
Okay, just asking. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant?
I have a question. Is July 3rd still a good date
Yeah.
that you can commit to?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, we're moving as quickly as we can get it done. You get rain, hail, all this other stuff. Plus I own a company in Chicago. So I'm back and forth from Chicago to here and as well as, California where I'm from, to get this done. So we've been trying to move expeditiously as quickly as we can to get it done. And I think we'll be, once we pass the mechanical and we pass the plumbing, I think then we already ordered the kitchen, like the cabinets and all this other stuff. We can move fairly quickly on getting it completed and functional.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other questions for the applicant? Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, any other, anybody else who wants to speak before the board? Mr. Bolt, would you step up? And of course, state your name and address for the record in the microphone.
Patrick Bolton, 403 Greenway Court, Coppell. My question's really about utilities. As we're talking about inspections for mechanical, electrical, plumbing, how are those inspections done if the utilities aren't turned on? And then the next question is, when will the utilities be turned on?
I'm the chief building official for the city of Coppell. So electricity is not inspected live. The electricity gets turned on after everything is ready to be energized. So right now we're looking at sizing conductors, making sure they're ran appropriately. The water is turned on to the structure, so we know that the water system is maintaining active pressure from the city. And any new plumbing for like the DWV system, which is the drain waste vent system, that has been put on test, and a licensed inspector has taken a look at it.
Okay, okay.
The electrical portion of it, realistically speaking, until there's an electrical panel in place, the electrical panel has all the breakers in place, and all the conductors are terminated appropriately, which means they're attached to receptacles, light fixtures, you name it. That system is not ready to be energized, and we will not release it.
So that's probably not going to happen until July the 3rd, there or thereabouts?
Hopefully around June. I would be very happy to try and get this wrapped up in June, but unfortunately, everything is incumbent upon availability of materials.
Okay.
At any point, there could be a hiccup in supply and demand. So
we will see what happens.
Okay, because I'm thinking also about the pool and the yard. Because until the electricity's on and the water's on, then you can't fill the pool and get that working, so.
Yeah, or an irrigation system
Yeah.
cannot operate without
Exactly.
something actuating the valves.
Yeah.
But until the electrician has gotten everything ready, we cannot release electricity to that structure.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the owner of 411 Greenway Court. You'll have to tell me your name when you get up here so I can write it down because I can't read it.
Oh, I did.
You must have taken handwriting from me.
Well, you know. My name's Rick Roberts. I'm
Rick
at
Roberts.
411 Greenway Court, Coppell, Texas, the most beautiful city.
Okay.
Been here about 35 years.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, I'm following up just to listen and make sure that we're all doing what we're doing. One utility I didn't hear was gas. Is the gas plumbed in yet, or has that been tagged, or is that still down the road?
So
as
no,
well?
gas usually gets released about the same time the electricity does.
Okay.
No matter what, we go through inspections portions, the gas piping for the interior of the structure gets capped off and somebody puts an air test on it.
Right.
We make sure that it holds air. We still don't release it at that point. It doesn't
Got it.
get released until we actually have appliances and everything else inside the structure.
And I heard him say that there's really nothing, you know, that he's got a plan all the way through and that we've got a plan to measure all the way through. And then you mentioned, of course, supply chain always being an issue, no matter what it is. And we agree on that, but we hopefully have built that into the timeline because we've dealt with the supply chain for the last 2.5 years. We dealt with the financials for 2.5 years. So I'm really glad to hear that we're still engaged as a community to get this thing done. And that's really, I'm really pleased because everybody has stepped up and we're getting progress done, and that's great. And yes, I called the police because I didn't see anyone in and out of the house at 7:30 in the morning, and the front door is wide open. And I said, and I'm heading to work, and I just said, hey, I don't see anybody here, and the front door is wide open. So yeah, it was not to harass anybody. It was just public safety, and a non-emergency phone number. Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
as Desiree mentioned, that we are in constant communication with Mr. Keenan as well as his contractors, and we're doing our best to make sure that they have our support in order to be able to achieve the goals that make life better for everybody.
I'm grateful. Thank you. I think last time the comment was that I was anxious. I'm not anxious, I'm directed. And so I just wanted to make sure that I'm still here and we're still all doing the same thing because I went home and thought, no, I'm not anxious. I've lived with this for 2.5 years. So my little pontification is we're all on the same page, you know, and not anxious, just directed. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Roberts? Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no other speakers that are signed up, you can close the public hearing and then y'all can deliberate.
Okay, since there's no other speakers, we will close the public hearing and open it to the board for discussion or a motion. Any questions?
I'm not opposed to the recommendation, but is July 3rd the best date for this group to get back together to hear? Are these dates set on the,
That's the data compliance, but if we need to, we can look at doing the 10th.
okay,
I don't know what the staff is, but I understand what you're saying, that could be a long 4th of July weekend, because that's Thursday.
'cause it's Thursday,
Friday's
Friday's the 4th, yeah.
'cause that means no one's gonna be in town on the 3rd.
If that doesn't
for
have to
both
be
the citizens and the
discussed
board.
here, we can do that offline,
Yeah.
the date of the next hearing.
I just want the completion date to stay. The
Yep.
Hearing can actually take place at a later
Understood.
time.
Okay.
We'll
Just wanted to-
fashion the order if July 3rd, we'll fashion the order that the work has to be completed and final inspected by July 3rd. And then we can convene y'all whenever y'all are back in town. And them too.
Yeah. Is anybody else have any other comment? Then
Motion.
I'll make a motion to comply or to go along with the staff recommendation that we have a supplemental meeting or
Yeah, what am I supposed to do?
Here, I'll try.
Help me-
Mr. Chairman.
help me,
Ba-
Bob.
ba-
You can make a
Based on
motion,
that,
read that,
the staff recommendation that the work be finally completed and final inspection on or before July 3rd, 2025, that a progress report will be submitted to the board and commission in first week of June of 2025, giving you all an update on progress on the project. And thereafter, if the work is completed, we will have a show cause hearing to close the case out or take other action as necessary.
I make that motion.
So moved. Second.
Okay, I have a vote. I'm caught, so the meeting is closed. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, take your vote, then if he's got a question, we'll get an answer for you.
All right, appreciate it.
All in favor of following staff recommendations as stated, please raise your hand. Okay, it carries. Okay, okay, the motion carries.
We-
No, sir.
We will prepare the required order for signature by the chairman.
Thank you. Please do. Yes, sir, you had a question now.
I guess, since we're gonna know that they're gonna be going in and out and a lot of work is gonna be done, rather than, does he need to knock on the neighbor's door and tell you guys that he's gonna be doing work? Like if he's there early, is it a certain time that, that they can be there? Is it be?
7 o'clock, Monday through Friday is the earliest they can be there.
What may be appropriate, Mr. McCarty, I would suggest that if the contractor is gonna be in town working a week, that he let Steve or Desiree know. And then that way, the neighbors will have a point of contact, or we'll try to call them and let them know that your contractor is on the property.
Talk to them before there's Fidel. He'll be going in and out. I'm gonna be in California, I'll be in Chicago. So he'll knock on people, if need be, he'll knock on doors when before he goes in, if he needs to notify the neighbors that work is gonna be done, 'cause there's gonna be a lot of work done, and a lot of his different people are gonna be in and out.
Yeah, I appreciate that opportunity, but we don't need to be waking us up at 7 a.m. if it's Saturday and, you know.
No, well.
Well, you
if-
can't work on Saturdays.
I would just soon Fidel, make contact with us, keep us apprised, and if you got questions, before you call the police, call them, and make sure that someone's supposed to be there, and I think that'll work just fine. He doesn't need to do that.
He got kind of scared.
No, I understand.
He been, police for ICE.
Yeah, I understand.
Being that he's a citizen, if it was ICE, I guess would be.
Yeah, I understand. No one wants to see the police come up when you're there working. Whether it's here or at your place or any other place.
Yeah.
All right. Next item, item number 7. It's a show cause hearing to determine whether the fence or accessory structure located on the property address at 433 Willow Springs Drive, Willowwood 2, Block G, Lot 67, in the city of Coppell, Dallas County, Texas, complies with the ordered action given by the Building and Standards Commission dated February 6, 2025, signed and filed February 7th, 2025. Desiree, would you present the case, please?
Thank you. This presentation will provide a follow-up on the property located at 433 Willow Springs Drive. Tonight's hearing will review whether the property complies with the actions previously ordered by the commission. As required, notification was sent out to all legally recorded parties with an interest in the property via first class and certified mail. Notices were also posted on site and published in the local newspaper to ensure full transparency and uphold due process. 433 Willow Springs Drive is the subject of this hearing. It is a one-story home that spans over 1,600 square feet. The rear yard features a wood fence that spans over 150 feet in length, and that is the focus of this case. Since June 2023, the fence remained in disrepair despite multiple notices delivered by various methods to both the owner and resident. No repairs were made. The case was filed twice with municipal court and both parties failed to appear. It was then filed with Building and Standards Commission. On February 6, 2025, the commission found that the fence was substandard and a public nuisance. It was deemed beyond repair in order to be removed by March 14th, 2025. The owner failed to remove the fence by the deadline, so on April 3rd, 2025, city staff executed an abatement warrant and removed the substandard fence. The total cost of the abatement was $1,600, which will be billed to the property owner. If unpaid, the city will initiate the process for filing a lien against the property. I'll now show the condition of the fence before and after the abatement. These photos show the extent of which the fence was in disrepair. The visual comparison provides clear evidence that there was hazardous conditions that existed and the effectiveness of the abatement process carried out by city staff. During the execution of the abatement warrant, city staff identified additional code violations on the property, such as collection of rubbish and debris in the rear yard. These violations are not part of the original order or the abatement warrant and will be addressed separately as a code compliance case through our legal enforcement process. Since the city has abated the substandard fence, staff recommends issuing an order of discharge to formally close the case and remove it from the commission's docket. This concludes my presentation, and I request that my testimony in this presentation be entered into the record as evidence.
Please enter that testimony into the record. Okay. There's no one to speak for it, so there's no one here to speak on on this case? Okay, then we're gonna close this.
All we need is a motion to accept the recommendation and close this matter on the docket.
Okay. Anybody wanna?
I'll make a motion to accept this recommendation and close this on the docket.
I got a motion to accept it.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, we will prepare the required order and present it to you for signature.
Please, thank you. Okay, item number 8. Public hearing adoption of the 2024 International Code. This is continued from February 6th meeting, 2025 meeting of the Building Standards Commission. Steve?
Well, if it would please the commission, I would like to recommend that we take the presentation that I provided in work session, add that to the records. And I would like a recommendation for approval for moving forward with council recommendations.
I would like to admit that presentation into the record as evidence. And I'll take questions, discussions by the commission or a motion.
Our motion is to approve it for the board. I thought we were presenting this to city council to approve. Okay. Yep. Okay. So I'd make a motion to recommend the approval to the council of the 2024 as presented.
Recommended, board secretary would note, exhibits A through K in the record.
I make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the 2024 international codes. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, motion carries unanimously. All right. Okay. If there's no other business, time is it's time is 7:33 and we're adjourned.